Everybody has aspects of their lives they would like to change, whether it's kicking bad habits or conquering self-doubt, or ultimately accomplishing our personal objectives in the midst of our everyday routines that are so full of problems and never-ending tasks that it's easy to forget. What really counts today is a profound truth from the old world that I wish to reveal. Stoic philosophy that tells us that it's not the events themselves that matter, but our reactions to events that determine our fate. But what if the route to truly enduring change was achieved by strengthening our inner selves rather than by making external repairs? By using Stoic wisdom, we may turn every challenge into a springboard for achieving personal mastery. Come along as we examine how to turn chaos into order and irritation into empowerment. Useful Stoic techniques to completely transform your life, making sure that each action you take is based on resilience and intelligence. Let's find out how this ancient philosophy can offer useful answers for contemporary issues that enable us to live more resilient and fulfilling lives. As we explore these timeless ideas in depth and find methods to promote inner strength and tranquility, no matter what life throws at us. If you value, I would appreciate it if you could do me a small favor by hitting the click the subscribe button and forward the video to people who are following your route. Today's subject may be difficult. Skeptics and encourage introspection. Thus, I strongly advise you to watch through to the finish, to be prepared to completely appreciate how Stoicism can change our daily life. Let's dive in and awaken your inner strength through Stoic thinking, so that you can begin making genuine changes. Our journey begins when we embrace mindfulness, a practice that has its roots in Stoic philosophy, and nowadays Stoicism and mindfulness are generally acknowledged for their ability to change people's lives. Is all about self-awareness, which is the process of getting to know your own thoughts, feelings, and Marcus Aurelius wrote a great deal in the Meditations on Impulses regarding the must examine our own views as an outsider may be able to identify ideas, and it's about making space between feelings without letting them overtake you. Events that occur to us and how we react. Consider mindfulness as holding a reflection of your thoughts and behavior. It involves asking yourself, what am I thinking? And why I'm thinking it? How do these ideas influence my behavior? This goes beyond simply figuring out negativity. It's about realizing the patterns we frequently repeat on a regular basis. Many of us unknowingly adopt habits that profoundly influence our lives, whether we are aware of it or not. We cannot learn to guide ourselves by closely observing these patterns, in a way that benefits us instead than restricting us to the attentiveness of the Stoics, is a tool that enables us to live intentionally, instead of haphazardly responding to every idea. And Epictetus once remarked that how you respond to something is more important than what actually happens to you. What counts, this straightforward but impactful concept, serves as a reminder that we have a choice. In the practice of mindfulness involves observing the gap between how we react to life and stimuli and reaction, and deciding to fill it with purpose instead of. Carl Jung, a psychologist who studies impulsivity, also discussed the need for awareness. According to him, your life will be guided by your unconscious until you bring it into awareness. Call it fate. By engaging in mindfulness exercises, you can start to become aware of those ideas and emotions that have been operating automatically. You begin to see yourself with a clear lens, understanding the reasons behind your actions and observing the causes of your responses. This isn't about passing judgment. Observation is about perceiving, not about categorizing ideas as good or evil, learning from them and accepting them for who they are. The great thing about mindfulness is that it can be used in any aspect of your lives, including how you deal with others and how you handle difficulties, or how you handle personal objectives. Mindfulness enables you to take a moment to decide how to react. This moment is where growth occurs, when we substitute intentional responses for thoughtless ones, choices that are consistent with our desired identities. For the Stoics, such as living a moral and satisfying life, requires self-mastery. Take a time to consider your daily schedule and habits. Are there any behaviors you repeat, sometimes without even recognizing behaviors that conflict with your ideals or objectives? This awareness is about how you respond to stress or how you spend your time. Journaling can be an effective approach to practice this as the first step toward changing. By putting your ideas on paper and going over them again, you might reveal your unconscious patterns and convictions. Give yourself the chance to comprehend and eventually change them. Remember, it takes work to become conscious, so begin with little moments when you're feeling impatient or frustrated, stop and consider why you're feeling this way. You're going to have to decide if this is the person you want to. Over time, these little epiphanies compound to change the way you. In many respects, living a mindful life is about being friends with yourself. Honesty, curiosity, and compassion are the foundations of your pursuit, the Stoic art of accepting all accountability. According to Stoic philosophy, accepting responsibility for our lives is one of the most difficult yet freeing things we can do. Being responsible is realizing that we are not to blame or find fault. Maintain the reins of our lives under whatever situation the Stoics held. Even though we have little influence over outside circumstances, we do have control over how we react. To this core concept encourages us to regard ourselves as the creators of our reality, as opposed to being passive objects of fate. The idea of accountability in Stoicism is more than just taking responsibility for one's acts. It's about accepting the role of Epictetus teaches us that we are not our own worst enemies. Situations you are in, the decisions you make, and the Stoic principle that responsibility is power, when we no longer blame past occurrences or other people's fortunes for our current situation, open the possibility of altering our future. This change isn't about ignoring the impact of outside elements, but about choose to concentrate on the things we can alter in our minds. Choices and behaviors in the field of contemporary psychology, which closely corresponds with people with what is referred to as an internal locus of control, feel that they are in charge of their lives, that their decisions count, and that they are not just victims of outside forces. Carl Jung, a forces psychologist, highlighted that by accepting responsibility for our actions, we are able to access the unconscious motivations and habits that mold us. As he famously stated, "I am what I choose to be when we accept, not what happened to me." Accountability, we transition from a state of reactivity to one of intention, deciding how to live instead of allowing life to control us. But the problem is that taking on responsibilities isn't always easy. It frequently entails admitting unpleasant facts about our behaviors, routines, and mindsets. Occasionally, we may come to the realization that we have been clinging to ideas or justifications that keep us in. The Stoics didn't run from these insights. Instead, they embraced them as chances to improve by accepting responsibility for our actions. Space for sincere introspection, we start to recognize the areas where we've been avoiding challenging adjustments, where we have allowed ourselves to stay in circumstances that have caused us to be held back by fear or self-doubt. There is a strong sensation of freedom in this, even when it doesn't serve us. Frightening initially, but once we accept responsibility, we are no longer at the mercy of outside factors. Rather than believing that we have the ability to control our situations, no matter how challenging, this does not imply that we will not experience suffering. Rather, it indicates that won't characterize us. Stoic resolve is about maintaining a strong grasp of that. Even though life may provide obstacles, we have the freedom to decide how to handle them. Think about how the Stoics dealt with hardships and setbacks on a daily basis. Marcus Aurelius wrote that everything was an opportunity to cultivate virtue and a test of character. When something gets in the way of progress, it becomes the obstacle. This insightful viewpoint informs us that barriers are not hurdles, but chances to hone our strength and resilience when we accept accountability. Because of the way we handle these challenges, we use them as stepping stones to advance ourselves. Accepting responsibility and getting closer to the person we want to be entails letting go of the desire for justifications. We've all been caught wondering if we had more time, or perhaps, if only things were different. These ideas could offer momentary solace. Because they prevent us from growing, Stoicism forces us to confront the reality of these justifications as obstacles we put up to keep from facing our own potential. The Stoic method is to inquire rather than state, "I'll start tomorrow." What I can achieve with what I now have involves realizing that the ideal we must act in the present, since the future will never come. Although difficult, this mentality change might change the way you see your life. Via the prism of accountability, rather than feeling constrained by what other people have done or what has occurred, you begin to concentrate on what you can do right now to bring about change. This determination and dedication to accountability result in a calm assurance that no matter what life throws at you, you possess the ability to manage it, which provides you with fortitude when confronted with failing, realizing that obstacles just serve to test your commitment and highlight your areas for improvement, not to define you. Accepting responsibility is a daily habit, since we are presented with innumerable chances to decide how we react to the environment we live in, and each of these making decisions builds on the previous one, gradually molding us into the people we are, mastering your path and setting objectives that genuinely change. Establishing specific, attainable goals is among the most effective things we can do for ourselves. Yet it's also frequently where we have the most serious difficulties. Setting objectives in philosophy isn't about lofty aspirations or nebulous wishes. Rather, it's about identifying our priorities and acting with purpose and practicality. The Stoics held that we should only pay attention to what is inside of us. Control and the goal-setting process is a continuation of that concept. When we set with clarity, we set our own objectives and make a roadmap that helps us stay on course. Even when they encounter obstacles, many people set broad and undefined, such as, "I want to succeed," or "I want to be happy." But as Seneca reminds us, no wind is favorable if one does not know the port they are sailing to. Having a clear vision makes us susceptible to outside influences and distractions. We must deconstruct our objectives and define what success looks like. In practical terms, this makes every action have a purpose. Therefore, we may assess our development knowing that we're headed in the right route. In contemporary psychology, it's frequently referred to as the SMART approach to goal setting. Measurable, attainable, pertinent, and time-bound. This fits in well with Stoic principles by establishing precise objectives. We're not just concentrating on what we want to achieve, but simultaneously focusing on things we can manage. A specific objective might be, "I want to be healthy," as opposed to, "I want to work out 3 times a week," and swap out sugary beverages for these tiny, every step we take builds, and actionable actions give us something tangible to work on every day. Momentum. The Stoics also stress how crucial it is to select objectives that are worthwhile. Epictetus stated that we must to prioritize things that cultivate perseverance and virtue instead than ephemeral aspirations or mediocre results when establishing a goal. Why does it matter to you? Does it support your growth and values, or is it affected by other factors? by other people's expectations or viewpoints. The more you understand why your objectives are important, the stronger your dedication to them will be more evident when you face challenges, Carl. According to Jung, you can only see clearly when you can gaze within yourself, looking beyond your dreams. In order to develop genuine goals, we must examine and comprehend ourselves. What really speaks to us, and this self-examination keeps us from establishing objectives that are only reflections of what society or others believe we ought to do. Rather, we base our objectives on what will help us grow personally. Clarity helps us be resilient because it helps us understand our beliefs and the life we want to lead. Knowing why our objectives are worthwhile makes us less likely to give up when times get difficult, but goal setting isn't. It's not just about making a list, it's about making a plan for every little objective. Ought to serve as a springboard that advances you toward your final goal. For instance, if you wish to develop a Stoic mindset, some objectives might be writing about daily meditation or spending 10 minutes every morning reading a Stoic text. Even while these acts might not seem like much at first, they add up over time and lead to long-lasting change. Each minor accomplishment will give you a feeling of achievement and advancement that further inspires you to keep up the Stoic mindset, inspires us to establish ambitious but doable goals that should stretch us without being too much for us. There's a delicate balance between, realistically, if we establish excessively lofty goals, we run the risk of burnout and frustration. We deprive ourselves of the opportunity to grow that comes from challenging ourselves. Marcus Aurelius tells us to stop wasting time debating what makes a good person. This is an exhortation to prioritize action over perfection, which we don't require. Perfect objectives or the best plan. We just need to start, make adjustments along the way, and stick with it. Dedicated to the process, and after establishing our objectives, it's critical to go back and regularly adjust them, since life is unpredictable and things change. Therefore, our objectives should be adaptable so that we may change without feeling as though we have let the Stoics' valued down. Adaptability and resilience, viewing every change as a chance to work out integrity and discernment. If a goal no longer fits with your current self or conditions, don't hesitate to make adjustments. The purpose of goal setting is not strict adherence yet significant advancement, and ultimately it's critical to honor the. Too frequently, we overlook the little things along the journey and only concentrate on the outcome. Because every action we perform contributes to the trip itself in Stoicism. Is equally important as the final destination each time you reach a milestone or take a minute to recognize any improvement, no matter how small it may appear. Not only supports healthy behaviors, but also keeps you inspired and resilient, unbreakable strength that fosters resilience. Consistency and resilience building are key components of personal development, and the Stoics sincerely believe that life is unpredictable and frequently presents us with obstacles when Stoicism tells us that although we have little influence over these outside circumstances, we do have power over our internal reactions. This change in perspective is the starting point for resilience in the being Stoic, is confronting challenges head-on rather than avoiding them. According to Marcus Aurelius, it's about adjusting and moving forward. Beautifully, the thing that prevents activity from progressing is the obstacle. Becomes the path, meaning that barriers aren't there to hinder us, but rather to strengthen us as we overcome difficulties. The more you consider resilience to be a muscle, the more you utilize it, the stronger it gets each time you encounter a difficulty and decide not to. When you give up, you're preparing yourself to face more challenges in the future. This process of gradual bolstering that equips us to manage any challenge life presents, and this resilience is about learning from adversity, not just about surviving it. Carl Jung discussed the idea of treating every setback as a chance to improve. He stated, "I am what I choose to be, not what happened to me." Resilience is the decision to keep going in the face of difficulty, turning it into a springboard rather than a... The closest ally of resilience is roadblock constancy. Without it, it's simple to become inspired at the moment. But even the greatest resolve ultimately wane. Beginning of a voyage, but with time, that early drive may wane. Demonstrates to us that while motivation is ephemeral like a passing breeze, consistency is something we develop via discipline, as Epicurus famously stated. No great something that appears out of nowhere, like a fig or a bunch of grapes. If you tell I respond to your request for a fig by saying that, there must be patience in the foundation of consistent, real growth, is the face of delayed results. Demands a dedication to consistent, frequently modest actions that add up over time. Creating routines that help you achieve your goals is one technique to increase consistency. These routines don't have to be complicated, but in reality, simplicity is frequently more durable. Maybe you begin your day that way, using a journal or 10 minutes of mindfulness at night to think back on the day. These minor behaviors eventually become instinctive, laying the groundwork for boosts your determination, because you'll have established habits that the Stoics were strong advocates, who helped you stay grounded and reminded of your objectives, of regular routines that helped them stay focused, prepared them for hardship, and reminded them of their principles. And creating a routine is just creating a self-supporting network that sustains you even when things get. Moreover, toughness, consistency, and resilience are closely related to self-control. Discipline is the capacity to maintain our resolve even when difficulties make it difficult to persist, or when enthusiasm wanes. The Stoics viewed discipline as the essential component of leading a moral life. They recognized that staying on track isn't always simple, but they thought in the strength of tenacity each time you fulfill a commitment. Even when it seems tough, you're strengthening your capacity to maintain composure under duress. Consistency is fueled by this discipline, which in turn builds. Learning to handle failure is another crucial component of resilience. Stoicism reminds us that failing is a normal element of progress and should not be dreaded. When we fail, it's a chance to think, adapt, and attempt again with greater wisdom than before. Failure can be viewed as feedback and a guidance, rather than as a defeat. Demonstrates what doesn't work so that we can determine what Marcus Aurelius reminds us of. Avoiding becoming like your adversary is the best kind of retaliation. In other words, don't allow failure to either define you or steer you away from your objectives. Every obstacle is an opportunity to develop resilience, grow stronger, and more competent. Developing resilience also entails learning to be patient. With personal development is a difficult and frequently gradual process in a society where change doesn't happen suddenly. That values quick fixes. Stoicism serves as a reminder that real progress is subtle. It takes time. Thus, Seneca suggested that we follow a straight path instead, and reach an objective where the terms respectable and pleasant have the same meaning as the Stoic method inspires us to do. To exercise patience, value the process, and have faith that every day will bring constant effort is a silent strength that is helping us get closer to our ultimate goals. That enables us to persevere without requiring instant gratification. Resilience and constancy also assist us in managing the unavoidable uncertainties of life by cultivating these traits that help us become more flexible and less reactive when things don't go as planned. Resilience, according to the plan, keeps us grounded and enables us to pivot without. When we feel dejected, we learn to realize that failures are a necessary part of the process rather than in the end. The Stoics held that our ability to adapt is what makes us strong. Ability to approach every circumstance with an open heart and a clear head, prepared to learn and adapt. And when we approach life with fortitude, we're more equipped to make intelligent choices as opposed to behaving impatiently or in irritation. Rewire your brain to think positively and stoically. Mindset. The Stoics stated that the mind can change our perception of the world, and that our thoughts can either be our biggest ally or our biggest challenge. By creating with a mindset based on positivity, strength and purpose, we can overcome obstacles, as Marcus Aurelius once said, grace and keep our focus on what truly matters. The basis of a positive Stoic attitude is the quality of your thoughts, which determine how happy your life will be. Stoicism's positive outlook does not imply ignoring challenges or coercing positivity, but rather about developing a practical, empowered outlook that allows the Stoic viewed life as unpredictable, full of occurrences beyond our control, and advised us to react sensibly to life's ups and downs. Control, but they also held that we all possess the ability to regulate our thoughts and reactions. To those incidents, it's not about brushing off unpleasant emotions, but rather about choose not to allow them to control us by learning to respond and perceive things objectively instead of response. We discover a calm that isn't readily disrupted by outside situations. The Stoic attitude is based on what we refer to as amor fati. This idea, love of one's fate, encourages us to accept all of life's experiences, both positive and negative. Opportunity for development instead of fighting or hating challenging circumstances. The Stoic method is to ask, how can I improve myself, or what can I gain from this experience? By seeing difficulties as chances rather than barriers, we begin to perceive life's hardships as significant, and although we don't always relish the difficulties, we accept them as a necessary component of the journey, since we know they have. For humans to learn, psychologist Carl Jung discussed the significance of incorporating all aspects of who we are, including our attempts to complete ourselves. I am what I choose to be, not what happens to me, he stated, echoing the Stoic conviction that our choices define us, rather than our circumstances evaluate and react to them. A constructive Stoic attitude motivates us to see each moment, each setback, as a means of strengthening our character instead of allowing. Our identity is determined by our experiences of pain or failure, which we utilize to improve ourselves to grow stronger, smarter, and more robust. The practice is another essential component of a positive Stoic mindset. Marcus Aurelius regularly reminds himself to be grateful in his meditations. What he has, and to express thankfulness for the small things in life, is a method of teaching the mind to emphasize plenty over scarcity. By acknowledging and valuing what we already have, we change our attention from what is absent from what is there. This change in viewpoint can be astounding, extraordinarily strong, enabling us to keep a cheerful attitude even when difficult situations. Rather of focusing on failures, we begin to value the blessings in our daily lives, both large and small. To foster a regarding Stoic attitude, we must also exercise detachment, since the Stoics taught that the source of our pain is attachment, whether it be to things, results, or when we let go of the urge for things to be a certain way, we become free from particular expectations, preventing needless worry and disappointment. But this doesn't imply that we don't care or have no objectives. It just indicates that we understand our value. And Epicurus tells us to strive for the best because happiness isn't dependent on outside outcomes. Utilize what you can control and accept the rest as it comes. By concentrating on, by letting go of what we cannot control and focusing on what we can develop an attitude that is resilient and upbeat. Unfazed by the ebb and flow of another effective aspect of a Stoic mindset is developing self-compassion. The Stoics recognized the value of kindness even though they frequently stressed self-control and discipline. We all make errors and fall short of our goals and aspirations, and a good one aspect of a Stoic worldview is the capacity to forgive, learn from mistakes, and proceed without needless shame. Rather than severely condemning ourselves on each mistake, we can decide to see every encounter as a teaching moment. This kind of self-compassion entails treating oneself with the same respect as others, but it does not entail making excuses for ourselves. By being patient and understanding, we would also impart the Stoic approach to a buddy. Entails a dedication to living intentionally, understanding our beliefs, and living in being in alignment with them, offers a profound sense of satisfaction and optimism, for the Stoics believed that leading a moral life was the ultimate aim of a life devoted to when we live in accordance with our ideals, wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. A positive attitude is fueled by a sense of purpose and significance in actions. We feel rooted instead of disoriented or vulnerable to outside forces, linked to something bigger than ourselves in a straightforward yet powerful manner. Using daily reflection, take a few steps to develop a positive Stoic mindset. Spend some time every day thinking back on your ideas and deeds. Ask yourself things like, did I reply to difficulties with patience today? Or did I let unimportant concerns to distract my everyday? This type of introspection keeps us alert and helps us return to our Stoic values and serving as a reminder of our ability to respond positively. It's Marcus Aurelius employed this technique daily, and it remains applicable now. Stoics recognized at the time that putting one's health and self-care first meant that a strong body is necessary for a strong mind, and well-being is a necessity rather than a luxury. The Stoics held that developing resilience was essential to leading a happy, meaningful life. With discernment and self-control, we need to look after our bodily and mental well-being, which is the ship that takes us through life. Tetus reminded us that we should take care of our bodies because they are a gift and a tool. Self-care is not selfish, rather, it's a way for us to focus and put energy into pursuing our goals. Essential step on the path to being our best selves in terms of Stoicism. Since health is seen as a preferred indifference, we should aim for it even if it's not completely within our power. While we cannot ensure flawless health, we may take measures to back it up. The Stoics didn't think that giving in to every craving or comfort, but they also valued harmony and honoring the innate requirements of Marcus Aurelius's body in the Meditations, frequently reminded himself of the value of keeping himself physically healthy, realizing that a healthy body helps maintain mental clarity, because when we take care of our bodies, we are better able to manage the difficulties life presents with forbearance, perseverance, and fortitude. From a Stoic standpoint, self-care is about discipline and the everyday decision. Exercise is the ideal way to do things that nourish us, even if they don't give us immediate gratification. For instance, an exercise may feel difficult or even uncomfortable at the time. However, it gradually increases mental clarity, strength, and resilience. Movement is more than just looking nice. It's about feeling strong, capable, and prepared to face the day. Consider it a form of physical preparation for. When we exercise, we're cultivating the mental discipline to stay to a routine that helps us no matter how we feel at the time, and each workout serves as a reminder of our dedication to our health and well-being. The Stoics recognized the need of mental and emotional well-being for physical health. According to the famous quote from Well-Being, "A sound mind in a sound body" is a short but full description of Stoics' emotional self-care, and a joyful state in this world include controlling our thoughts and emotions, as well as allowing ourselves time to rest, because we live in a society that exalts perpetual output, while genuine self-care involves relaxation, and the Stoics understood the need of making time to ponder, slow down, and re-establish a connection with oneself. Through blogging, meditation, or just taking quiet moments during the day, these techniques assist us in controlling our stress and staying focused on our diet, something that, in the absence of our contemporary understanding of food, the Stoics prized as a component of self-care. Today, they did think that eating in moderation and sustaining oneself was more important than instead. Rufus, a Stoic philosopher, suggested simplicity in diet that holds that food should support us rather than control us in the present may entail selecting foods that provide you energy and mental clarity. Intentional eating is an act of supplying our bodies with energy rather than slowing us down. Another important component is respect for ourselves, which is a means of realizing that we deserve to feel our best. Marcus Aurelius frequently discussed the value of rest in his writings on Stoic self-care, urging himself to get up early while yet acknowledging the importance of getting enough sleep, because good sleep heals the body, and intellect, giving us the drive to face the day with a clear, focused being in a society that frequently confuses sleep deprivation with productivity. It's simple to overlook the fact that sleep is essential to resilience. The Stoics would contend that without sleep, we are unable to act justly, think properly, or react sensibly. Not a luxury, but a necessary self-care practice that allows us to live. In keeping with our principles, mental self-care also entails protecting. The Stoics were careful about who they surrounded themselves with in order to protect their minds from harmful influences. With surroundings that encouraged them, which is still true now, Epictetus suggested that it's important to surround yourself with only positive people whose protecting our mental space is choosing to spend time with people who make you feel your best, encourage and uplift us instead of deplete or demoralize us. It's also about deciding on our media consumption, behaviors, and conversations when, by being aware of what we let into our minds, we foster an atmosphere that encourages resilience, positivity, and focus. Being aware of our emotions without allowing them to rule us is another aspect of self-care. Carl Jung once observed, "I am what I choose to be, not what happened to me." This illustrates the Stoic philosophy of emotional well-being, which the Stoics did not reject. Instead, they urged us to notice them, comprehend their origin, and give a rationale for your response. Journaling might be a useful technique in this situation to aid with processing feelings and achieve clarity without becoming overwhelmed. It's a gentle self-reflection that enables us to spot trends, decompress, and refocus on the important things. Journaling turns into a form of emotional self-care that enables us to face life with inner strength and serenity. Making health and self-care a priority means honoring. The Stoics thought that we should believe in ourselves enough to be our best selves every day. Taking care of oneself was crucial for both happiness and making a constructive contribution to society. We are better equipped to assist others in making informed judgments when we are feeling well. And adopting this viewpoint makes self-care essential rather than optional in order to live with purpose. Taking care of ourselves turns into a dedication to living life to the fullest and embracing each day with vitality and clarity, and to develop into a person who can handle life's obstacles with grace and resiliency. Keep in mind that real strength comes from more than just overcoming obstacles in life. Alter the way we take care of ourselves when we confront challenges by accepting resilience and developing, having a good outlook and making self-care a priority, not only helps us shape who we are, but cultivating inner strength, serenity, and a purposeful existence every day is a chance to grow a little stronger, smarter, and better. Thank you for joining Stoic Journal and deciding to go on this trip with us. If you're prepared to learn more, visit. Let's continue this journey together by watching one of the recommended videos on the screen.